my name is Serena Poon, and welcome to my show, Serena Loves. As a celebrity chef, nutritionist, and entrepreneur, I'm incredibly passionate about helping others live their best life through methods I call culinary alchemy, which is the magic of combining education, integrative and functional nutrition with healing intuitive energy. So, with each episode, I'm going to share with you the inspiring stories of some amazing people, incredible entrepreneurs from all different backgrounds who have all overcome challenges in their personal journey to get to where they are today. And today we have a very, very special person. He is a certified master Qigong practitioner, and I'll let him dive into the details of what Qigong is with you, but it's basically an ancient healing modality that combines traditional Chinese medicine and philosophy with visualization and breath work and movement. And we have with us today one of the very best. He's got over 18 years of experience teaching, practicing, and healing tens of thousands of people. Everyone from professional athletes to celebrities to your favorite music artists to the beautiful souls that participate in the Special Olympics. And what's amazing is he discovered Qigong on his own through a very profound experience. And I can't wait for him to share it with you. Please welcome Chris Shelton.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for
so
being
exciting.
here today. It's really great. And I was so moved. You have such a powerful story. And I know you have so many amazing things that you're sharing with the world right now, but I would love for you to start with that, like how you discovered Qigong and, that part of your life.
So growing up, grew up in a very dysfunctional home. And I started doing drugs at age 11 and a half or 12.
Oh, wow.
And by age 17, I had my first heart attack from a meth overdose. And, the doctors at the time said that, if I was any older, that it would have killed me. And unfortunately for me, when I was in the ER, I heard the doctor in the ER telling my dad outside the curtain that if, I got a hold of some bad stuff. Being 17 years old, I've gotten a hold of things, I've done drugs that didn't quite do the trick, but nothing had ever done this to me before.
Right.
So as a 17-year-old, frontal cortex of my brain not fully developed, I thought, wow, I can still do it because I've gotten a hold of some bad stuff before, but nothing like this. And so anyways, fast forward a couple months, had another heart attack. This one was much more minor. And so at that time I realized I need to change my path. And so what I did was I put myself into Taekwondo as a means to change that path. And then I started competing right away. And then one night before a match, I was kicked in the back and I was dropped to the mat and almost paralyzed from the waist down.
Wow.
So doctors at the time were saying, Chris, you might not walk again if you're not careful. Like, this is one of those things that you can't play around with. And so, which led me to this amazing woman. She was a chiropractor, but the whole family was chiropractors, the father, the grandfather, brother, sister, but also she's an acupuncturist and homeopathist. And she had a therapist working for her at the time, and he was a martial artist, and he started talking to me about Qi.
Okay.
And back then I'm thinking Qi, yeah, right. The closest thing I get to Qi is like Cheez-Its and Cheese Whiz. Like, there's no such.
And you're so young.
So
too.
young, yeah. So, and I had other health problems too. I had severe digestive problems.
Of course.
I had severe sinus problems. I had OCD, slight case of depression, and so I had nothing to lose. And now this is over 26 years ago, and
at this point, how old are you?
I'm now 18 years old.
You're just 18. You're such a baby.
Yeah, and so I decided, I'm going to start taking these classes. And back then, nobody was talking about Qigong. I mean, barely now. It's starting to kind of gain momentum. We actually call it Qigong the new yoga, but back then, nobody was talking about it. So there was a couple other women in the class, and I kid you not, after about 6 months of doing these practices, I can't tell you exactly when things started to change. But I just woke up one day and said, wow, when did I stop living on the antibiotics? When did I stop living on the Tums and Kaopectin? When did I stop living on the Sudafed and Actifed? So I couldn't give you a pinpoint date, but all this stuff has started to change. And I thought, if a gentle movement or a meditation could do this to me, then there must be something to Chinese medicine.
Yes.
And that's how my journey began.
It's so inspiring. I mean, thank you for sharing that. And I'll be honest, I read up on a few things. I didn't realize that you had 2 heart attacks before you're 18. I mean, that's just mind-blowing, you know, and then for you to go from there to where you are now, and now you're spreading this gift, you know, and this journey and all your knowledge to everyone else. I think it's incredible. So
yeah, it's, you know, it's really a pleasure to share. And because I had such a hard life, what's great is that when a patient or a client comes into clinical practice, then you know, I can relate to them at some level, as opposed to just philosophy or theory, but really, you know, coming from my background at some level, I've experienced a lot of what other people out there who are suffering, and suffering comes in many different ways, and it shows up in our bodies as health issues, depression, and inflammation, which is the topic. It seems like more so nowadays what's causing all this inflammation. So
yeah, I mean, we talked about this. I mean, we're so on the same wavelength about full optimal health is truly, you know, mind, body, soul, spirituality, all of it. I would love for you to really kind of share in more detail what Qigong really is, you know, to the audience who, you know, may have just sort of heard about it. And my explanation is very brief, just so they have a better understanding of what it is and how it's different from yoga, different from meditation, different from energy work.
Yeah, so Qigong is a 5,000-year-old practice, and like you said, it is actually the foundation of Tai Chi. It's actually the foundation of acupuncture and Chinese medicine, because thousands of years ago, people were not so identified with their mind and the ego, and more in tune with nature and their interconnectedness with nature, and how this plays a role in their body. And what they realize is that the leading cause of death and disease is actually negative emotions. And it's not that emotions are bad. For example, the emotion of anger is meant to be there to stand up to fight for the underdog, to get out of a bad situation, to create positive change in the world. But if anger is causing you to have migraines, if anger is causing you to have eye problems, tendon problems, digestive problems, depression, then no longer is that anger serving you. So anyways, this 5,000-year-old practice, Qi is the life force energy that emanates through all living things. And what I tell new students or clients that come in, if you don't have an understanding of what Qi is, just think of it in terms of blood or fluids in the body. Because blood is your Qi. If you're deficient in blood, then you're not going to have any energy. So Gong is the skill. So like you hear Gong Fu means skill with a fist. So the Gong is the component to where we take this life force energy that emanates around us, but also obviously inside of us, and then we're able to guide it in order to rectify imbalances. And what people don't realize is that we understand the physiology of the human body, but these organs have a much, much greater functionality. And different emotions actually attack different organs. And so when we see conditions like prolapses where organs fall out of place, or we see things like chronic fibroids or migraines, then yes, poor diet is going to do it to you.
That's a factor, absolutely.
Yeah, you have to, but also what's going on emotionally for somebody.
Of course,
these Qigong practices, they're meant, especially the style that I teach is based upon what is called as the 5 elements, which is just as simple, to make it more simplistic, is more about the 5 major organs of the body and the 5 emotions. And the difference between Qigong as opposed to yoga, or as opposed to just mindfulness, is that, or mindfulness practices, is that Qigong actually encompasses both. You have the mindfulness practice, but every single movement or meditation that's taught, like for example, that I have on my YouTube channel, is taught for a specific reason. Not one thing that I'm teaching is just for relaxation. Relaxation is just a byproduct. What we're really doing is that we're empowering people to be able to transform themselves from the inside out. And so many people, you know, living here in LA, there's so many people that want to look beautiful on the outside, but yet are dying on the inside, right?
Yeah, I see it all the time.
So it's like, okay, well, what can we do? What can give us this longevity? And really, the whole idea of Qigong is for you to be able to empower yourself to deal with not only the day-to-day stress and trauma, but more importantly, the past stuff. That
stuff that sticks.
Sticks, that you know, that people say, oh, well, I dealt with that years ago. And, you know, one of the ways that I diagnose or assess people is from reading a person's face. It's called Xingmen, it's Chinese face reading. And what's interesting is that every line, every feature on your face tells me a story of how you think, past traumas, your personality type.
Wow.
And so when I'm in Q&A with a client in clinic, if I'm not getting the answers that I want, then I start calling them out by reading their face.
Wow, I want you to read my face after this. Like, it might take a few minutes. Well, I want to, you're talking about your method. I'd like to know a little bit more about that, because you do targeted healing. You said you have these 5 elements that you focus on. So that sets you, apart in your specialty with this practice. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so in the clinical practice, technically speaking, I'd be classified as a medical Qigong therapist, but I separate myself from that group because what I'm doing after studying with a Tong-style acupuncturist, Esther Su, for a few years, it really transformed how I worked with clients. So we're located out of the San Francisco Bay Area, and what happened was that my old fight coach, Kung Lee, who was a UFC fighter and became a movie actor, actually was introduced us to this gentleman down here in Los Angeles named Eric the Trainer. And he's a Hollywood physique expert. And when I spoke to him on the phone, he said, Chris, nobody is doing what you're doing down here in LA. I said, oh, come on, Eric, this is Los Angeles. There has to be somebody. But when a client comes into clinic, I expect there to be change right away. So I'm going to give you an example, like frozen shoulder. You wake up one morning and your neck is stiff, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I have to change my mattress, I have to change my pillow, something's wrong. Or maybe I was walking the dog yesterday and he just tugged me a little bit too hard. And that's not the case. Every single shoulder injury that I've ever seen, unless you're doing jiu-jitsu and someone popped your shoulder out, or you're a pitcher, or you got into a car accident and immediately from the car accident, you had a shoulder injury, every single frozen shoulder or neck cervical issue has to do with emotions that affect the heart.
Wow.
So I'll give you examples. So one of my clients, the guitarist for Nickelback, Mike Kroger, he had flown in. He had cervical issues for 3 years. And you could actually see the arthritis in the x-rays and the deterioration of the disc in his cervical spine. And he was one step away from having neck surgery, and our people in Chicago said, hey, you gotta go see this guy, Chris Shelton. So he flew into San Jose and he came in. And I said, okay, Mike, I said, 3 years ago, what was going on in your life before the shoulder injury happened? And he said, oh, nothing I could think of. He goes, I think maybe just being the stress of being on tour, maybe, he goes, you know what it is? It's from me holding the guitar. And then he stopped.
It's like logical, right?
Right, because you don't want to, there has to be something physically you did. I was lifting, my trainer wasn't spotting me right, or something, right? And then he paused and he said, you know what, Chris, actually 3 weeks before this showed up, my horse died. So his horse died. He did what all of us do, took care of what he had to do, went back on tour, and tried to pretend like it wasn't a factor. Then his body said, you know what, we're gonna show you, let's be thankful if it's just cervical issues. And so then what happens is when you have this emotional blockage, then it creates a blockage in the channel, which at first creates the pain and the dysfunction, but over time, it actually will show up on an x-ray, on a lab report, as the actual disease itself.
Wow.
And so anyways, he gave a testimonial, and within 15 minutes, his arthritis was gone.
Wow, and I'm sure you still check in with him. It hasn't been back since.
No, it hasn't been back since.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so what I'm here to do is to share with the world that you don't have to live with pain or disease. That there are things you could do, and Qigong has been around for thousands of years. And one of the things I hear, because I'm a keynote speaker also, and one of the things I hear, like if I go to give talks to trauma nurses or doctors, is this is some kind of pseudoscience. And like I tell people, if it's been around for thousands of years, if it's around for thousands of years, there must be something to it. Right? Otherwise, it would do itself in, right? It would show its own flaws. And I have a very grounded approach on teaching this, because I don't want it to seem mystic or...
you want it to be approachable.
To where anybody around the world can understand it. And really, it's about empowerment. They say that a superior doctor is one that can prevent disease before disease sets in. So the whole idea is that you become your own superior doctor. There's an ancient classical textbook called the Su Wen in Chinese medicine, the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Difficulties. And in that book, there's a passage that says, to fight disease after disease sets in is like digging a well after one has become thirsty, or forging one's weapons after engaging in battle. Wouldn't that be too late? So the whole idea here is to be able to be preventative, but also reverse the process. So,
sure.
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, you and I have exactly, like I said, the same philosophy. It's really about empowering the individual because our bodies are such, as I said, on the phone with you, that it is such an incredible healing machine. And it's just learning the tools to help ourselves heal ourselves and to empower ourselves to do that. And you've actually, the feedback on your book, I mean, what people say about it, I love. You really sort of simplify what seems to be so complicated. And I can see how some people may think that Qigong is somewhat intimidating because it's not tangible and it's something that's a little different. And your book, which I haven't read yet, but I just ordered this morning on Amazon.
Oh.
I can't wait to read it because I know that you simplify it for people, so it's more relatable and tangible. And you're also developing courses, or have you already developed it?
Yes, we already have. We have a online Qigong teacher training program. Level 1 is 13 weeks, and it's interactive. And what's nice is it allows people from around the world to be able to partake in it. So after the end of the 13 weeks, then we get together for a weekend workshop. And what's cool is because of technology is that like we have people from Costa Rica, New Zealand taking the course. If they can't make it, then we actually Zoom them in.
Oh, that's great.
And it's like we put them on the big screen and it's like they're in the classroom with us.
Oh, that's so great.
And I could have made the course easier, like as far as like 2 weeks, but really if you want to become an instructor, or some people that are taking the course don't want to instruct, they just want to help themselves and have a deeper understanding.
Yes. And
the cool thing is that the way the structure of the course is that number one, introducing people to the basic concepts of Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
And how emotions create disease.
Right.
And from there, through the practices, then what happens is that they actually start to grow and develop themselves. And we see it a lot in the alternative medicine, integrated medicine world, where people are out there prescribing and diagnosing, but they haven't even begun to work on themselves or cultivate themselves.
Right.
So the course is set up for people to really dive in that want to have a healthy, happy life and understand really how their body functions on a much deeper level. And so we're really excited about this course. And the whole idea about this course is that it's the foundation for then the medical side.
Yeah.
And because what I do in clinic, I could teach to other people.
Yeah.
So I've developed a skill set that I could reproduce. And ultimately what I'm looking for is people from around the world that want to help other people. They come and then study, and then they go back into their communities.
And they teach, right?
They teach,
yes.
Or they help work with other clients. So it's anybody from social workers to doctors, nurses, acupuncturists, PT, anybody.
Anyone in that space.
In that space, right.
So that's so great. I can't wait to check it out myself. I mean, just after we talked and looking, I'm like, I would love to empower myself so that I could help my clients more as well, and just to share that knowledge, which is why I'm so glad you came today. I'm so grateful that you spent the time. It was really great to hear what you're doing, your story, and the message. And I think more and more people should actually try this. So
simple.
You have your website. Let's actually share where we can find you.
So Chris Shelton Qigong is the website. Also, the YouTube handle is Chris Shelton Qigong. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram, all Chris Shelton Qigong. And the email is chris@morningcrane.com. And so reach out, and if you have any questions, and if you want to get a book, give us your email, and we'll send you out a free book. All you have to do is just cover the shipping and handling. And what's cool is that the book actually corresponds with the YouTube page. So we have the 30 days of YouTube, 30 days of Qigong on YouTube for free. And each day I talk about the practice, why you're doing it according to Chinese medicine, and how to do the practice. And each day corresponds with the chapters in the book.
It's brilliant that you did that. It really is. It's just something that I feel like it's a tangible thing we can reference back and forth when you're on the YouTube and then on this. So it's so great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming today. I
My
really
pleasure.
loved
Thank you for having me. This is fantastic.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Thank you guys so much for joining us today on Serena Loves TV. We'll see you next time.